Right? My daughter did my makeup. Hey, Marjorie, can you hear me okay? She mad skinny. Can you hear me okay? Hey, Glenn. I'm trying to go live on Instagram now, but I don't remember how to do it. I really don't remember how to do it. Um, okay, now I gotta go ask my daughter. Jam! Yes, it's story time. I read a lot too. I'm up to like chapter 6, but I put like 1 minute summaries on my page, or I'm about to put 1 minute summaries on my page. Let me call this girl because I really do not remember how to go live on Instagram. Isn't that? Oh, I figured it out. I think. Okay, hold on. It's coming. It's coming. All right. Please like and share on your page. I'm gonna be doing it anyway, even if it's one person, even if it's myself. But it'd be nice if some more people joined and we have a good discussion. Um, oh shoot, am I live? Oh, I'm not even live yet. Okay. All right. I am. I don't know. Should I turn on this light? Hold on a second. Oh, I don't think that's good. Okay. Um, how is everybody doing? Uh, I hope you guys are doing good. I am going to, I'm gonna try to read a whole chapter. I got up to chapter 6, so I will summarize. Um, I'm actually really ready to finish the book because, hey, whoever's joining, hi, please like and share and all that good stuff. Let's get everybody reading with me. That would be awesome. Um, so yeah, so I want to hurry up and finish because the series is out. It's Bridgerton on Netflix. It's a Shonda Rhimes production, and I've been reading the reviews. Not getting any spoilers, even though I'm reading the book, but because they're gonna change some things up, as you know. But I've been reading reviews, and so far, all the people that have watched it is like they binged it. It's no, it's 8 episodes. It's 8 episodes, so everybody has. Most of the people that watched it have binge watched it. So I want to hurry up and finish the book so I can watch it. But I'm trying to be good. This is my way to get myself to read. So we're gonna do chapter 6 of Bridgerton, and it's no chapter 6 of the Duke and I, and it's the inspiration for the Netflix series Bridgerton. And so, just to get everybody caught up, the last time we did the reading, it was last week Thursday, and I know I said I was going to do it every Thursday, but I'm probably just going to get on here Tuesdays and Thursdays because as I read more chapters, there's a lot to get through. Uh, but if you see the 1 minute chapter summaries. I do like 1 minute chapter summaries. So they're floating around on there. They're either on TikTok or I'm gonna put them on my page or what have you. I'm gonna try to put them all in one place so everybody can get them. Um, oh, I'm not even scrolling down to do the comments. Oh, this is why I'm not seeing everybody. Because I'm not scrolling down to do the comments. Oh, all right. Hey. Um, okay, so I'm the Wendy Williams. Well, I mean, of books. I can tell you all the tea about these books. How about that? I think that'll work. Hey Nancy, come on Facebook and like and share. Stay on there too, because you're the only viewer I have on Instagram. Look, y'all, look, my daughter did my makeup. She did a little something something because she be like, I be on TikTok and on here looking a hot mess because I don't do that. So she did my makeup for me a little bit. Um, okay, so let me summarize the book. Let me summarize what we have r- read from the last time and what I read so far. So, um, we read the prologue, and just to give you a background, the prologue. Hey, how are you? We read the prologue, and just to give you a background on the prologue, it was the Duke of Hastings. He really wanted a son. His wife finally gave him a son. She died in childbirth, but his issue was that his son could not speak. Even worse, it's not that his son couldn't speak. So by the time his son got older, he could speak, but he stuttered. He stuttered really, really bad. So basically, he was like, "Whatever, I'm out. I'm not doing this with you." So what you missed from this point on so far is um, the son got older. So his name is Simon. Simon the Duke. He got older, and he was like the bomb. He was good in everything. He was super smart. Um, had like all A's in school or whatever, graduated top of his class, and he was cool. Everybody wanted to be around him and stuff like that. So what happened? The Duke heard how good his son was doing without any assistance or anything like that. So he heard how good his son was doing. So one day he was just like, he went up to his son and gave him a hug and stuff like that. And so Simon was like, "Oh, no, we're not doing that. We're not being buddy buddy and stuff." So he just left the country. He left the country and just went to travel abroad. But he came back from traveling abroad, and it was 5 or 6 years later he came back. This is all the stuff that you missed because I'm gonna just pop off on chapter 6. So this is from prologue to chapter 6. So he came back. Simon came back when the Duke died. That's my daughter back there. He came back when the Duke died, right? And so now he's the Duke, but he's just like, I don't know if I'm gonna do all this. I don't know if I'm gonna enter in society or whatever. So when he came back, now we get introduced to who the actual Bridgertons are. And as I told you guys, hey, Vlad, thank you for joining. Janetta, thank you for joining. If you guys are still on, hey, hey, hey. Um, so anyway, he came back. The Duke is dead. He came back. He's now the new Duke. And so now we meet the family, the Bridgerton, the family. And this is the title of the Netflix series. So this family is has 8 siblings. So basically each story, or probably each series, I don't know how they're gonna do it each season, it's probably about each of the siblings, how they get married and stuff, because each of the books um, is about a different sibling. So this one is about Daphne. So we get to meet Daphne and her mom, who wants to just marry her daughter off, like kind of like how a Haitian mom be wanting to marry their daughters off. It's the same thing. She wants to marry her daughter off. So we meet them. We meet the brother. Why you zipping? Why you zip? You know it's true, Vlad. Do you know that's how they be? They don't like they feel like you're not complete if you are not married. Um, I don't know how many people feel that way. Like if you're not married, you're not complete. I don't feel that way, but a lot of Haitian moms, that's how they feel. And in this book, back in that time, that's how they feel. So anyway, um, so we meet them, right? So far, and then there's like some drama that happens. So there's a ball because there's always a ball because that's all these people do back in the day. They go to balls and they don't really have jobs because they're rich somehow. They don't have jobs, so they just go to parties and try to hook people up. That's what they do. Hey, Eric, what's up? Yes, old school type Haitians. That's how they are. That's how they are. So anyway, That's what they do. So they have a ball, and what's his name? Simon meets her at a ball while this other dude, he's kind of drunk and he's kind of like trying to attack her, like stupid drunk. And she was like, I don't want to marry you. And he's like, no, I want you to marry me. So he was like attacking her a little bit. So she ended up punching him. He fainted on the ground. And they don't watch TV. No, they didn't have TV back then. No, they don't watch TV. They didn't have TV. They did embroidery and stuff like that. They don't watch TV. Hey Alethea. So anyway, um, so she punched him and then he was still trying to get frisky. That's what they do. They open up the connecting room. He was trying to get frisky. Then Simon, that's the new Duke's name, he punched him, but he was just like, yo, I'm attracted to this chick. And she was like, oh, Simon is kind of cute. But she is Simon's best friend's sister. So Simon's like, "Oh, I can't play her. I can't whatever because that's my best friend's sister." Anyway, let me fast forward to what happens in chapter 5 so we can hop into chapter 6. So they like each other, kind of sort of. Anyway, in chapter 5, they're on the dance floor dancing and he proposes that she they pretend that they're courting each other because back in the day they courted, like it wasn't like now. I don't even know what it is now, but back in the day they actually courted. So he was like, let's pretend, because I'm the dude, I'm so fly. When guys see that I want to get with you, they're going to want to get with you, because her problem was everybody thought she was too cool, she was a friend, so nobody really wanted to marry her because she just kept on getting friend zoned because she was dope like that, but too dope like that for them to marry her. I guess I'm gonna move this because I think the lighting for you guys is not good. Okay, there. That's on Instagram. Anyway, so he was just like, and then if I pretend like I like you, then all these other chicks that are single with their moms, they are going to kind of leave me alone. So we'll just pretend, and then at the end of the season, you could just say you don't want to marry me, you want to marry somebody else. Like I'll let you break up with me. So that no, she's not twerking either. So that is where we left off on chapter 5. So now I'm up to chapter 6. So that's what we're gonna read together. Or that's what I'm gonna read to y'all. I don't know if Vlad left because he should be making fun of my reading, which is not cool. So just in the middle for anybody who happens to come on. Um Reading chapter 6 of The Duke and I. Hopefully, I can get through the whole chapter. I'll be trying to read um, a little fast and stuff. Let's see, wait. That's the here. Uh, no, that's not good. That's the I see you. I was trying to move it, Nancy, because that's the oh, you can't hear me. Hold on. Technical difficulties. Let me turn the volume up. Whoa, what happened? Where'd it go? Okay. Um, then go on Facebook, girl, because I don't. This ain't. All right. Can you, Nancy? Can you hear it now? Is that better? I tried to move it a little bit. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So I'm gonna get started on reading this. So again, where we left off, this is the Duke and I. This is chapter 6, and where we left off was chapter 5 is where he was basically like, let's pretend to be together. All right. Oh, and each chapter starts off with the whistle down. That's the gossip paper. So this is telling everybody. This is like the Wendy Williams or the National Enquirer or those, those papers. This is like that. This is like those papers that just be telling everybody's business, telling their names, everything. So each chapter starts off with like a bit of gossip. So I'm gonna try to read fast, but here we go. It has been reported to this author that the Duke of Hastings mentioned no fewer than 6 times yester eve that he has no plans to marry. If his intention was to discourage the ambitious mammas, he made a grave error in judgment. They will simply view his remarks as the greatest challenges. And in an interesting side note, half his half dozen anti matrimony remarks were all uttered before he made the acquaintance of the lovely, sensible Miss Daphne Bridgerton. Okay, so in the previous chapters, at this party, hey Faye, yes, so Bridgerton is based off of a series of books. There are like 8 or 9 of these books. And the family, the Bridgertons, is has 8 siblings. So the mom is a family of 10, so the mom and then the 8 siblings. So I'm guessing the first book from the what's on Netflix is probably the first about Daphne. So it's the first. It's called Duke and I. So yes, it is. And I'm going to try to read it before I watch the series. But I'm guessing the first season is focused on the first book, is my guess. Or maybe they kind of merged them all into one or whatever. So anyway, in the previous, he did like at the ball, he did dance with Daphne. He danced a waltz with Daphne. And back in the day when you dance a waltz with somebody, that's like a big deal. That's like, oh, you like them. You know. So he did dance. Hey, cuz. So he did dance a waltz with her. So everybody's just like, oh, he likes her. Oh, whatever, whatever. So that's what that's about. But just a quick question. So he's like he doesn't want to get married. And so the question is, like back then marriage was super necessary. Do y'all think marriage, and y'all can put it in the comments, do y'all think marriage is super necessary now? Um, as opposed to like back then. Like back then, a female, if she wasn't married, like her life was over back then. I don't think that's the case now, and I don't know if it's necessary, really necessary now. But y'all can put your answers in the comments if you think like marriage is not necessary if you just like it or whatever. Okay, so I hope this cat is gonna start acting up, y'all. Sorry. All right, so I'm gonna hop in because I do want to try to get to finish this chapter. Okay, the following afternoon found Simon standing on the front steps of Daphne's home, one hand rapping on the brass knocker of the door, the other wrapped around a large bouquet of fiendishly expensive tulips. It hadn't occurred to him that his little charade might require his attention during the daylight hours, but their stroll about the ballroom the previous night, during their stroll about the ballroom the previous night, Daphne had sagely pointed out that if he did not call upon her the next day, no one, least of all her mother, would truly believe he was interested, because that's how you start off the courting back then. They actually did courting and stuff like that. I don't even know how people date. I don't know. But we don't do court. Nobody does court. Nobody courts a lady nowadays, unless I'm wrong. Do they? Do guys court ladies nowadays? Like if there's a lady that you really want to get with, do you like court her? No, is that your answer to the question, right, Faye? Okay. Simon accepted her words as true, allowing that Daphne almost certainly had more knowledge in this area of etiquette than he did. He dutifully found some flowers and trudged across Grosvenor Square to Bridgerton House. He'd never courted a respectable woman before, so the ritual was foreign to him because he was always sleeping with prostitutes, probably, because that's what they did back then too. The door was opened almost immediately by the Bridgerton butler. Simon gave him his card. The butler, a tall, thin man with a hawkish nose, looked at it for barely a quarter second before, where was I? Before nodding and murmuring, "Right this way, Your Grace." Clearly, Simon thought wryly, he had been expected. What was unexpected, however, was the sight that awaited him when he was shown into the Bridgerton's drawing room. Hey, Liz. Um, okay, where was I? All right, Daphne, a vision in ice blue silk, perched on the edge of Lady Bridgerton's green damask sofa, her face decorated with another one of those wide, wide smiles. It would have been a lovely sight had she not been surrounded by at least half a dozen men, one of whom had actually descended to one knee, gales of poetry spewing from his mouth. Okay, so apparently the plan is working because remember, he was just like, if we pretend to be dating or courting or whatever, if we pretend, then more dudes. Thank you, Liz. My daughter did it because she was like, uh, I need to stop coming on here looking busted. But this might be just, once in a blue moon type thing. But thank you. Thank you. Anyway, so he was like, listen, if we pretend to be dating, more dudes are gonna holler at you because they gonna be like, oh, if he wants her, because he's the Duke, you know, like there must be something there. She's not just a friend or whatever. So apparently it worked because um there's like a whole bunch of dudes at her house now trying to holler at her. Where before, for like the whole season, she only had three proposals, and two of them was from an old man, and one was from this dude that was not very bright. So, uh, all right. Judging from the florid nature of the prose, Simon fully expected a rose bush to sprout from the nitwit's mouth at any moment. The entire scene, Simon decided, was most disagreeable. His He fixed his gaze on Daphne, who was directing her magnificent smile at the buffoon reciting poetry, and waited for her to acknowledge him. She didn't. Simon looked down at his free hand and noticed that it was curled tight into a fist. He scanned the room, slowly trying to decide on which man's face to use it. Oh, he's jealous. Okay. Daphne smiled again and again, not at him. The idiot poet, definitely the idiot poet. Simon tilted his head slightly to the side as he analyzed the young swain's face. Would his fist fit best in the right socket or the left? Or maybe that was too violent. Maybe a light clip to the chin would be more appropriate. At the very least, it might actually shut the man up. Okay, so he's super annoyed right now. This one, the poet announced grandly, I wrote in your honor last night. Simon groaned. The last poem he had recognized as rather grandiose rendition of a Shakespearean sonnet, but an original work was more than he could bear. Your Grace! Simon looked up to realize that Daphne had finally noticed that he had entered the room. While he's over there getting real upset. He nodded regally, his cool look very much at odds with the pudgy dog faces of her other suitors. Miss Bridgerton, how lovely to see you, she said, a delighted smile crossing her face. Ah, that was more like it. Simon straightened the flowers and started to walk towards her, only to realize that there were three young suitors in his path, and none appeared inclined to move. Oh, he's super annoyed, I know. Simon pierced the first one with his haughtiest stare, which caused the boy, really he looked all of 20, hardly old enough to be called a man, to cough in a most unattractive manner and scurry off to an unoccupied window seat. So he basically like he's just gonna scare these dudes off. That's what he's gonna do. Simon moved forward, ready to repeat the procedure with the next annoying young man, when the Viscount suddenly stepped into his path, wearing a dark blue frock and a smile that might possibly rival Daphne's in the brightness. Your Grace! Um, oh, Viscountess is the mama. I said Viscount, it's the mama. Your Grace, she said excitedly, what a pleasure to see you. You honor us with your presence. I could hardly imagine myself anywhere else, Simon murmured as he took her gloved hand and kissed it. Your daughter is an exceptional young lady. Oh, he's laying it on thick already. It's a little early for that. Okay. The Viscountess sighed contentedly. And such lovely, lovely flowers, she said once she was finished with her little revel of maternal pride. Are they from Holland? They must have been terribly dear. Okay. Mother, Daphne said sharply. She extricated herself from the group of a particularly energetic suitor and made her way over. What can the Duke possibly say to that? I could tell her how much I paid for them, he said with a devilish half smile. You wouldn't. He leaned forward, lowering his voice so that only Daphne could hear. Didn't you remind me last night that I'm a duke? He murmured. I thought you told me I could do anything I wanted. Yes, but not that, Daphne said with a dismissive wave of her hands. You would never be so crass. Because, back in the day, they had a lot of rules and a lot of etiquette, and you didn't talk about like money or how much you spent on something or something like that. They had a lot of rules, like a lot. Um, Of course, the Duke would not be crass, her mother exclaimed, clearly horrified that Daphne would even mention the word in his presence. What are you talking about? Why would he be crass? The flowers, Simon said. The cost. Daphne thinks I shouldn't tell you. Tell me later, the Viscountess whispered out of the side of her mouth when she's not listening. Then she moved back over to the green sofa where Daphne had been sitting with her suitors and cleared it out in under 3 seconds. Simon had to admire the military precision with which she managed the maneuver. There now. Hey, people coming in and out. There now, the Viscountess said. Isn't that convenient? Daphne, why don't you and the Duke sit right there? So she know all these other people that are coming through, she's like, it's good, whatever, y'all could come through. But she's not really for them. Everybody back then would want a Duke instead of anybody else. Like they probably don't have any titles or anything like that. So she's definitely like, oh yeah, I want them. And I didn't tell y'all that, but of course he's fine. He's tall, fine, chiseled, all that because they're always fine, right? Okay. You mean where Lord Railmont and Mr. Crane were sitting just moments ago? Daphne asked innocently. Precisely, her mother replied with what Simon considered to be an admirable lack of obvious sarcasm. Besides, Mr. Crane said that he has to meet his mother at Gunter's at 3. Daphne glanced at the clock. It's only 2, mother. The traffic, Violet said with a sniff, is nothing short of dreadful these days. Far too many horses on the road. It ill becomes a man, Simon said, getting into the spirit of the conversation to keep his mother waiting. Well said, Your Grace, Violet beamed. You can be sure that I have expressed that very same sentiment to my own children. And in case you're not sure, Daphne said with a smile, I'd be happy to vouch for her. Violet merely smiled. If anyone should know, it would be you, Daphne. Now, if you will excuse me, I have business to attend to. Oh, Mr. Crane, your mother would never forgive me if I did not shoo you out on time. See, she like, y'all could go. The Duke is here, or y'all can disperse. That's basically what she's saying. Like, bye. They always orchestrating things. So she's definitely orchestrating for her daughter to get hooked up with the Duke. Daphne turned to Simon with an amused expression. I can't quite decide if she's being terribly polite or exquisitely rude. Exquisitely polite, perhaps, Simon asked mildly. She shook her head. Oh, definitely not that. The alternative, of course, is terribly rude. Daphne grinned and watched as her mother looped her arm through Lord Relmont's, pointed him towards Daphne so that he could nod his head goodbye, and led him from the room. And then, as if by magic, the remaining beaux murmured their hasty farewells and followed suit. Oh, she cleared the room. They gone. Remarkably efficient, isn't she? Daphne murmured. Your mother? She's a marvel. She'll be back, of course. Pity. And here I thought I had you well and truly in my clutches. Daphne laughed. I don't know how anyone considered you a rake. Your sense of humor is far too superb. And here we rakes thought we were so wickedly droll. So back then, right, a rake was basically like a, a dude hoe. That's basically what a rake was. Like, and I guess it was a polite way to call them a hoe, but they were hoes. So, polite way in society to call them a hoe, a male hoe. I don't even know if we have a name for a male hoe. Anyway, um, her A rake's humor, Daphne said, is essentially cruel. Her comment surprised him. He stared at her intently, searching her brown eyes and yet not really knowing what it was he was looking for. There was a narrow ring of green just outside her pupils, the color as deep and rich as moss. He'd never seen her in daylight before, he realized. Your Grace, Daphne's voice snapped him out of his daze. You looked 1,000 miles away, she said, her brow wrinkling. I've been 1,000 miles away. He fought the urge to return his gaze to her eyes. This is entirely different. Daphne let out a little laugh, the sound positively musical. He really likes when she laughs. That was his thing before. Like he was, oh, you know how they write, like the laugh just mesmerizes you and stuff. Okay, so he was mesmerized. Okay, where was I? He brushed aside her remark. You must forgive my wool gathering. We were discussing my lack of humor, I believe. We were not, and you well know it. Her hands found their way his to her hips. I specifically told you that you were in possession of a sense of humor far superior to that of the average rake. One of his brows lifted in a rather superior manner. And you wouldn't classify your brothers as rakes? She has four brothers. That makes up four brothers, four sisters. That makes up the Bridgerton clan, by the way. The only and you wouldn't classify your brothers as rake. They only think they are rakes, she corrected. There is a considerable difference. Simon snorted. If Anthony isn't a rake, I pity the woman who meets the man who is. There is more to being a rake than seducing legions of women, Daphne said blithely. If a man can't do more than poke his tongue into a woman's mouth and kiss, whoo, first of all, this conversation back then is very inappropriate. Like they wouldn't be doing this, having this type of conversation. Like, nah. Simon felt his throat close up, but somehow he managed to sputter. You should not be speaking of such things. She shrugged. You shouldn't even know about him, he grunted. Four brothers, she said, by way of explanation. Well, three, I suppose. Gregory is too young to count. Simon ought to tell them to hold their tongues around. Someone ought to tell them to hold their tongues around you. She shrugged again, this time with only one shoulder. Half the time they don't even notice I'm here. Simon couldn't imagine that. But we seem to have veered away from the original subject, he said. All I meant to say is that a rake's humor has its basis in cruelty. He needs a victim, for he cannot imagine ever laughing at himself. You, Your Grace, are rather clever with the self deprecating remark. I just don't know whether to thank you or throttle you, because she's being a smartass. Throttle me? Good heavens, why? She laughed. Again, a rich, throaty sound that Simon felt deep in his gut. He exhaled slowly, the long whoosh of air just barely steadying his pulse. If she continued laughing, he wasn't going to be able to answer to the consequences, because the consequences are him betting her. That's what that's how they say it back in the day. The consequences are him betting her, and he can't do that because one, he ain't trying to make an honest woman out of her, and two, reminder, that's his best friend's sister, which is really bad. Where was I? Okay, but she just kept looking at him, her wide mouth curved into one of those smiles that looked as if it were perpetually on the verge of laughter. I'm going to throttle you, he growled, on general principle. And what principle is that? The general principle of man, he blurted. Her brows lifted dubiously, as opposed to the general principle of women. Simon looked around. Where is your brother? You are far too cheeky. Surely someone needs to take you in hand. Oh, I'm sure you'll be seeing more of Anthony. In fact, I'm rather surprised he hasn't made an appearance yet. He was quite irate last night. I was forced to listen to a full hour's lecture on your manners, faults, on your many faults and sins. The sins are almost certainly exaggerated. And the faults? Probably true, Simon admitted sheepishly. The remark earned him another smile from Daphne. Well, true or not, she said, he thinks you're up to something. And he's right. I am up to something. Her head tilted sarcastically as her eyes rolled upward. He thinks you're up to something nefarious. I'd like to think I'm up to something nefarious, he murmured. What was that? What was that? Nothing. She frowned. I think we should tell Anthony about our plan. And what could possibly be the benefit of that? Daphne remembered the full hour grilling she endured the previous night and just said, "Oh, I think I'll let you figure that out for yourself." Simon merely raised his brow. My dear Daphne, her lips parted slightly in surprise. Surely you're not going to force me to call you Miss Bridgerton. Also back then they had to be formal all the time and shit. Like, so it was, you got to have permission to use the person's name or be really personal or have some personal level or something like that. So that's why she kind of looked like, yo, I can't believe this dude just used my name. We ain't cool like that. Like, don't be using my name. Um, After all that we've been through nothing, you ridiculous man, but I suppose you may call me Daphne nonetheless. Excellent, he nodded in a condescending manner. You may call me Your Grace. She swatted him. Very well, he replied, lips twitching at the corners. Simon, if you must. Oh, I must, Daphne said, rolling her eyes. Clearly I must. He leaned towards her, something odd and slightly hot sparkling in the depths of his pale eyes. Must you? He murmured. I should be very excited to hear it. Daphne had the sudden sense that he was talking about something far more intimate than the mere mention of his given name. A strange tingling sort of heat shot down her arms, and without thinking, she jumped back. Those flowers are quite lovely, she blurted out. He regarded them lazily, rotating the bouquets with his wrist. Yes, they are, aren't they? I adore them. They're not for you. Daphne choked on air. Well, who they for then? They're for his mother? They're for her mother? Oh, I don't know if I'm a oh, well, there's a lot of pages to chapter six. I might just have to give y'all a summary because I got like 20 minutes left. I don't think I'm gonna get through all that. But we'll try. Simon grinned. There for your mother. Her mouth slowly opened in surprise, a short little gasp of air passing through her lips before she said, "Oh, you clever, clever man. She will positively melt at your feet, but this will come back to haunt you, you know." He gave her an arch look. "Oh, really? Really? She will be more determined than ever to drag you to the altar. You shall be just as beleaguered at parties as if we hadn't concocted this scheme." Nonsense, he scoffed. Before I would have had to endure the attentions of a dozen of ambitious mammas. Now I must only deal with one. Her tenacity might surprise you, Daphne murmured. Then she twisted her head out to look out the partially open door. She must truly like you, she added. She's left us alone far longer than is proper. Simon pondered that and leaned forward to whisper. Could she be listening at the door? Daphne shook her head. No, no, we would have heard her shoes clicking down the hall. Something about that statement made him smile, and Daphne found herself smiling right along with him. I really should thank you, though, she said before she returns. Oh, why is that? Your plan is a brilliant success. At least for me. Did you notice how many suitors came to call this morning? He crossed his arms, the tulips dangling upside down. I noticed. He wasn't happy about it. It's brilliant, really. I've never had so many callers in a single afternoon. Mother was beside herself with pride. Even Humboldt, he's our butler, was beaming, and I've never seen him so much as smile before. Oops, you're dripping. He leaned down and righted the flowers, her forearm grazing the front of his coat. She immediately jumped back, startled by both the heat and power of him. Okay. Good God, if she could sense all that through his shirt and coat, what must he be like? Ooh, she having naughty thoughts. Mm. Daphne colored red, deep dark red. Really naughty thoughts. I should give my entire fortune for those thoughts, Simon said, his brows rising in question. Thankfully, Violet chose that moment to sail into the room. I'm terribly sorry for abandoning you for so long, she said, but Mr. Crane's horse threw a shoe, so naturally I had to accompany him to the stables and find a groom to repair the damage. In all their years together, which Daphne thought naturally constitute her entire life, Daphne had never known her mother to step foot in the stables. So, of course, she made that story up. You are truly an exceptional hostess, Simon said, holding out the flowers. Here, these are for you. From me? Violet's mouth fell open in surprise, and a strange little breathy sound escaped her lips. Are you certain? Because I. She looked over to Daphne and then at Simon and then finally back at her daughter. Are you certain? Absolutely. Violet blinked rapidly, and Daphne noticed that there were actual tears in her mother's eyes. No one ever gave her flowers, she realized, at least not since her father had died 10 years earlier. Violet was such a mother. Daphne had forgotten that she was a woman as well. Aw, that's kind of that's kind of sad. So she's a widow. I somehow I missed that. But anyway, okay. I don't know what to say, Violet sniffled. Try thank you, Daphne whispered in her ear, grin lending warmth to her voice. Oh, Daph, you were the worst. Violet swatted her arm, looking more like a young woman than Daphne had ever seen her. But thank you, Your Grace. These are beautiful blooms. But more importantly, it was a most thoughtful gesture. I shall treasure this moment always. So, uh, it pays to be nice to the mamas. Just, if you ever wonder, it pays to be nice to the mamas. Um, Simon looked as if he were about to say something, but in the end he just smiled and inclined his head. Daphne looked at her mother, saw the unmistakable joy in her cornflower blue eyes, and realized with a touch of shame that none of her own children had ever acted in such a thoughtful manner as this man standing beside her. Okay, so you know how sometimes when people do like one little thing, it's that one little thing that starts to allows them to worm their way into your heart because of that one little nice little gesture. Hopefully, there's more to come. The Duke of Hastings, blah 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 blah. The Duke, the Duke of Hastings. Daphne decided then and there that she'd be a fool if she didn't fall in love with him. Of course, it would be nice if he returned the sentiment. Mother, Daphne said, would you like me to fetch you a vase? What? Violet was still too busy sniffling blissfully into her flowers to pay attention to her daughter's words. Oh, yes, of course. Ask Humboldt for the cut crystal from my grandmother. Daphne flashed a grateful smile at Simon and headed for the door, but before she could take more than 2 steps, the large and foreboding form of her eldest brother materialized in the doorway. Daphne, Anthony growled, just the person I needed to see. So she has 4 brothers, but 3 of them are old enough to be super super protective, and Anthony is actually the oldest of all the siblings. Um, Daphne decided the best strategy was to simply ignore his curlish mood. In just a moment, Anthony, she said sweetly, Mother has asked me to fetch a vase. Hastings has brought her flowers. Hastings is here? Anthony looked past her to the duo further in the room. What are you doing here, Hastings? Calling on your sister. Anthony pushed past Daphne and strode into the room, looking rather like a thundercloud on legs. I did not give you leave to court my sister, he bellowed. I did, Violet said. She shoved the flowers in Anthony's face, wiggling them so as to deposit the greatest amount of pollen in his nose. Aren't these lovely? Anthony sneezed and pushed them aside. Mother, I am trying to have a conversation with the Duke. Violet looked at Simon. Do you want to have this conversation with my son? Not particularly. Fine then, Anthony, be quiet. Daphne clapped her hands over her mouth, but a snuffly giggle sound escaped nonetheless. You, Anthony jabbed a finger in her direction. Be quiet. Perhaps I should fetch that vase, Daphne mused, and leave me to the tender mercies of your brother, Simon said in a mild voice. I think not. Daphne raised a brow. Daphne raised a brow. Do you imply that you are not man enough to deal with him? Nothing of the sort, merely that he ought to be your problem, not mine. What the hell is going on here? Really? Can you, like, not now? Okay. Um, Do you imply that you are not man enough to deal with him? Nothing of the sort. Merely that he ought to be your problem, not mine. What the hell is going on here? Anthony roared. Anthony, Violet exclaimed, I will not tolerate such unbecoming language in my drawing room. Daphne smirked. Simon did nothing more than cocked his head, regarding Anthony with a curious stare. Anthony threw a dark scowl at both of them before turning his attentions to his mother. He is not to be trusted. Do you have any idea what is happening here? He demanded. Of course I do. The Duke is paying a call upon your sister. Okay. And I brought flowers for your mother, Simon said helpfully. Anthony gazed longingly at Simon's nose. Simon had the distinct impression that Anthony was imagining smashing it. I'm sure he was. Anthony whipped his head around to face his mother. Do you understand the extent of his reputation? Reformed rakes make the best husband, Violet said. Rubbish, and you know it. He's not a true rake anyway, Daphne added. The look Anthony shot at his sister was so comically malevolent, Simon nearly laughed. He managed to restrain himself, but mostly just because he was fairly certain that any show of humor would cause Anthony's fist to lose its battle with his brain, with Simon's face emerging as the conflict's primary causality. You don't know, Anthony said in his low and nearly shake his voice no low and nearly shaking with rage. You don't know what he has done. No more than what you have done, I'm sure, Violet said slyly. Precisely, Anthony roared. Good God, I know exactly what is going on in his brain right now. And it has nothing to do with poetry and roses. So Anthony is really pissed because he knows his best friend. And he's like, I'm not down with the shit. Since I'm not down with it. Uh, Simon Simon pictured laying Daphne down on a bed of rose petals. Maybe roses, he murmured. I'm going to kill him, Anthony announced. These are tulips anyway, Violet said primly, from Holland. And Anthony, you really must summon control of your emotions. This is most unseemly. Simon's head filled with more erotic images this time of himself licking her toes. He decided not to comment. Besides, he had already decided that he was going to allow his thoughts to wander in such that he wasn't going to allow his thoughts to wander in such directions. Daphne was Anthony's sister, for God's sakes. He couldn't seduce her. I refuse to listen to another disparaging word about his grace, Violet said empathetically. And that is the end of the subject. But I don't like your tone, Anthony Bridgerton. That's what she said when that's what the mom says when she wants the conversation to be over. Simon thought he'd heard Daphne choke on a chuckle, and he wondered what that was all about. If it was please your motherhood, Anthony said in an excruciatingly even tone, I would like a private word with his grace. This time, I'm really going to get that vase, Daphne announced, and she dashed from the room. Violet crossed her arms and said to Anthony, I will not have you mistreat a guest in my home. I shan't lay so much as a hands on him, Anthony replied. I give you my word. Having Having never had a mother, Simon was finding this exchange fascinating. Bridgerton House, after all, technically Anthony's house, not his mother's house, and Simon was impressed that Anthony had refrained from pointing this out. It's quite all right, Lady Bridgerton, he interjected. I'm sure Anthony and I have much to discuss. Anthony's eyes narrowed. Much. Very well, Violet said. You're going to do what you want no matter what I say anyway. But I'm not leaving. She plopped on the sofa. This is my drawing room and I'm comfortable here. If the two of you want to engage in that asinine interchange, then passes for conversation among the males of our species, you may do so elsewhere. Okay, I'm almost done. Simon blinked in surprise. Clearly, there was more to Daphne's mother than met the eye. Anthony jerked his head towards the door, and Simon followed him into the hall. My study is this way, Anthony said. You have a study here? I am the head of the family. Of course, Simon allowed, but you do reside elsewhere. Anthony paused and turned an assessing stare on Simon. It cannot have escaped your notice that my position as the head of the Bridgerton family carries with it serious responsibilities. Simon looked him evenly in the eye, meaning Daphne? Precisely. If I recall, Simon said, earlier this week you told me you wanted to introduce us. That was before I thought you'd be interested in her. Simon held his tone a- as he preceded Anthony into the study, remaining silent until Anthony shut the door. Why, he asked softly, would you assume I would not be interested in your sister? Besides the fact that you have sworn to me that you will never marry, Anthony drawled. He had a good point. Simon hated that he had such a good point. Besides that, he snapped. Anthony blinked a couple of times, then said, no one is interested in Daphne. At least no one we'd have her marry. Simon crossed his arm and leaned back against the wall. You don't hold her in terrible high regard, do you? Before he could finish the query, Anthony had him by the throat. Whoop, whoop. Don't you dare insult my sister. But Simon had learned quite a bit about self defense on his travels, and it took him only 2 seconds to reverse their positions. I wasn't insulting your sister, he said in a malevolent voice. I was insulting you. Strange gurgling sounds were coming from Anthony's throat, so Simon let him go. As it happens, he said, brushing his hands against each other, Daphne explained to me why she has not attracted any suitable suitors. Oh, Anthony asked derisively. Personally, I think it has everything to do with you and your brothers' ape-like ways, but she tells me it is because all of London views her as a friend, and none see her as a romantic heroine. Simon said no- Anthony was silent for a long moment before saying, I see. Then after another pause, he added thoughtfully, she's probably right. Simon said nothing, just watched his friend as he sorted all this out. Finally, Anthony said, I still don't like your sniffing about her. Good God, you make me sound positively canine. Anthony crossed his arms. Don't forget, we ran in the same pack after we left Oxford. I know exactly what you've done. Oh, for the love of Christ, Bridgerton, we were 20. All men are idiots at that age. Besides, you know damn well that he stutters. So every time he gets a little emotional or loses control, okay, yes. Every time he stutters or gets emotional or loses control, um, the stuttering comes back. So he always has to like maintain a level of control. And yes, he was about to kick Anthony's behind. Anthony thought he was like, I'm gonna handle that, but clearly, Simon learned some things in his 5 to 6 years abroad. Okay. Simon felt his tongue grow awkward and faked a cough to fit faked a coughing fit to cover his stammer. Damn, this happens so infrequently these days, but when it did, it was always when he was upset or angry. If he lost control over his emotions, he lost control over his speech. It was as simple as that. Unfortunately, episodes such as this only served almost done. Episodes such as this only served to make him upset and angry with himself, which in turn exacerbated the stammer. It was the worst sort of vicious cycle. Anthony looked at him quizzically. Are you all right? Simon nodded. Just a bit of dust in my throat, he lied. Shall I ring for tea? Simon nodded again. He didn't particularly want tea, but it seemed the sort of thing one would ask for if one truly did have dust in one's throat. Anthony tugged at the bell pull, then turned back to Simon and asked, you were saying? Simon swallowed, hoping the gesture would help him to regain control over his ire. I merely meant to point out that you know better than anyone that at least half of my reputation was undeserved. Yes, but I was there for the half that was deserved. And while I don't mind your occasionally socializing with Daphne, I don't want you courting her. Simon stared at his friend, at least the man he thought was his friend, in disbelief. Do you really think I'd seduce your sister? Dude, yes, he really thinks you'd seduce his sister. Like, come on. He's a dude, he know what's up, and you know he's right. Like, he really does think you'd seduce his sister. What kind of question is that? Don't play dumb. I don't know what to think. I know your plan. I know you plan never to marry. I know that Daphne does. Anthony shrugged. Frankly, That's enough from me to keep you two on opposite sides of the dance floor. Like he has to admit that Anthony has a point. Like, don't do that. He's right. He has a point. Simon let out a long breath. While Anthony's attitude was irritating as hell, he supposed it was understandable and, in fact, laudable. After all, the man was only acting in the best interest of his sister. Simon had difficulty imagining being responsible for anyone save himself, but he supposed that if he had a sister, he'd be damn picky about who courted her as well. Just then, a knock sounded at the door. Enter, Anthony called out. Instead of the maid with tea, Daphne slipped into the room. Mother told me the two of you are in beastly moods and I should leave you alone, but I thought I ought to make certain neither of you had killed the other. No, Anthony said with a grim smile, just a slight strangle. To Daphne's credit, she didn't bat an eyelash. Who strangled whom? I strangled him, her brother replied. Then he returned the favor. I see, she said slowly. I'm sorry to have missed the entertainment. Simon shouldn't Simon couldn't suppress a smile at her remark. Daff, he began. Anthony whirled around. Ooh, er. Hey, Kara. I haven't even started. I want to try to finish the book before I start. Is it like close? Do some of these things happen? I don't know. But I love the costumes. So here's what I like about what I've seen. I love the costumes. I love that they're black people in there because all the books I love historical romance. So all the books I would read, it'll always be white people. So I just have to imagine them. But I love that in the clips that I've seen, like it's a whole bunch of variety of people in there too. So I'm really excited to see it. And like I said, everybody that has seen it so far, they end up binging on it. So I'm hoping to be done with this book in a week and then I could see it. But anyway, where was I? Okay. Oh, yeah. He just called her a nickname, so I know Anthony's about to be pissed. All right. Anthony whirled around. You call her Daff? His head snapped back to Daphne. Did you give him permission to use your given name? Of course, but I think, Simon interrupted, that we are going to have to come clean. Daphne nodded somberly. I think you're right. If you recall, I told you so. Okay, so finally, because Anthony is going to lose his shit if they don't let him in on their little plan because he's like losing his shit right now. He's he's gonna lose his shit. Okay, so how gentle of you to mention it, Simon murmured. She smiled gamely. I could not resist. With four brothers, after all, one must always seize the moment when one might say, I told you so. Simon looked from one sibling to Simon looked from sibling to sibling. I don't know which one of you I pity more. What the devil is going on? Anthony demanded, and then added as an aside, and as for your remark, pity me. I am far more amiable brother than she is a sister. Not true. Simon ignored the squabble and focused his attention on Anthony. You want to know what the devil is going on? It's like this. Okay, so, oh, I made it. Made it in time. Wow. Finished chapter 6. All right, so that was chapter 6. So um I'm guessing that in the next chapter they're of course going to reveal that this whole little courtship thing is hey relentless. This whole little courtship thing is just a ploy to get her more dates, which is working. And we'll see. I did read this before, but I don't know what happened. We'll see how Anthony takes the news, and we'll see how that goes. But of course, I will read it, and I'll do my 1 minute chapter summaries or what have you, and I'll post them somewhere. Um, for you guys. But thanks for reading chapter 6 with me. And I can't wait to watch the movie. Yeah, Kara, I love seeing us too. I can't wait to watch the not the movie, the series on Netflix. But I'm almost done with the book. Hopefully I'll be done in a week because I've been kind of reading through the chapters pretty quick. And be on the lookout for the summaries. And still, if you come across this, still share it and like it because I'm just going to save it and leave it. And that would be great. And go to lightv.com. That's where the next book we're going to read. The next book is what's the shoot my brain what's the thing that's out now? Let me get it. What's the movie that's the TV show that's on HBO? I'm gonna Lovecraft Country. There we go. Whew, it took me a little bit to Lovecraft Country. That's the next one that I'm gonna read is Lovecraft Country. So thanks a bunch. Like, share, visit lightv.com. That's the blog. And have a super awesome, lovely night. Um, oh, the book now is this is gonna come out. Julia Quinn, The Duke and I, which is basically probably what the first Bridgerton series is based on Netflix. So we're almost done. Well, I'll be probably be done next week, like I said. But thanks. Have a great night, everybody.